Okay, y'all hear me out. So I'm up late reading, and I just had an epiphany. I don't know if I said that correctly. Is it epiphany or epiphany? Whatever it is, y'all. So y'all know that there's people that believe in the Bible. God created Adam and gave him dominion over everything, correct? He also gave him wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and discernment because he put him in charge of everything. He was responsible for identifying every item, every object, every animal. He saw a giraffe and said, "That's a giraffe." He saw a monkey and said, "We're going to name that a monkey." He saw water and said, "That's water." Like, he named everything. He was smart. He was wise. He was discerning. Then God put him to sleep and made him a helpmeet. And when he awake, God took him over to meet Eve. And when he saw her, he identified her with his discernment and his knowledge and his understanding as his wife. And he called her bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He was asleep. He didn't know God really used his rib for real. However, I'm getting somewhere with this. This is his natural gift. He's a leader. He has dominion. He has knowledge. He has understanding. He chose his wife. He didn't identify a giraffe as a wife because he knew that a giraffe was a giraffe. And he knew that Eve was his wife. Okay, now we got that down right. Now let's also get off into God created Eve just for Adam, which means there was a specific thing that he knew Adam needed, and he created it and then took Adam over to find her. And when Adam found her, he identified her, but she was God's perfect will for Adam. Even though she did some bogus stuff, she got Adam off into some stuff that he shouldn't have got off into, but she was still God's perfect will for him. That was still who God chose and made and created for Adam to wife, right? Now, Eve had the conversation with the devil in the garden. They ate the forbidden fruit. She took the fruit to Adam. She was the help. She took the fruit to the person that had dominion, the leader, the boss, and she presented it to him, and he knew better. He was wise. He was given instructions to not touch it. Not only was that a thing, he also had discernment. He also was able to identify that he wasn't supposed to eat it. He had gifts that should have told him not to eat that fruit. He had a position that should have told him not to listen to her and eat that fruit. He had dominion. So people get mad at Eve a lot, right? But Eve was the help. Adam had dominion. Adam was the leader. Adam acted out of character by eating the fruit. Adam displayed peon activity. Adam was a weak man because he allowed her, no matter what he knew, what he discerned, what he was told, to convince him to do something he wasn't supposed to do. When the head messes up, you can't blame the help. Now, she acted out of order. I'm not saying she got away with it and she was right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that nobody ever identifies as Adam being out of position and out of order for allowing her to convince him or even present that he should have stood on business as a leader, as a man, as dominion, as wise, as discerning, as knowledgeable, and said, no, we're not going to do that. And if she did it, that would have just been on her. But he weakened himself. Let me insert this right here. Eve got the idea to eat the fruit from someone outside of the marriage. She got outside information from someone that had nothing to do with their union, which was the snake, which was the devil. Took that back to her husband and then convinced him to take that advice. So this is also an example on how you need to keep stuff and people out of your marriage, because had she not went and got advice from a snake, things may have been a lot different. At the point that Adam stepped out of position to do what was not necessary, they could have eaten anything else in there. He listened to her, and at that moment, in my personal opinion, she became more dominant than him. He obeyed and listened and took the advice of his helper. But he did so not being blinded to what could happen, because God gave him instructions. Not only did God give him instructions, he was wise. He was discerning. He was knowledgeable. He was able to identify, this is what you're supposed to eat, and this is what you're not. You know why? Because he probably named the tree the forbidden fruit. He probably named it the forbidden. It was probably his idea to call it forbidden, because he was Adam. He named everything. So why people never speak on how Adam was out of order, how Adam was not displaying leadership, how Adam, who was in charge, did not run his ship right. He did not run the household correctly. He did not stand on business like he was supposed to stand on business. He softened his position. And because he softened it, they lost it. They lost ownership of the entire garden. It was exiled and punished. You got to make executive decisions, even though that's your wife, even though that's your kid, even though that's your mama, even though that's your daddy, in any position, as being a man that God put in charge, the leader. You have to play your role and choose wisely and be discerning and be knowledgeable and not make decisions based off feelings, wants, emotions, temptations. You just got to do what you're supposed to do, or it will cost you everything. Everything. And this was the wife God chose for Adam. That's deep. He chose this heifer. Like, Eve must have had some fire, whatever she was doing to him. Because why would you, what made you just go along with that? With that much dominion and authority and understanding and discernment? Because he knew better. He absolutely knew better. And I'm going to need y'all to ignore how my hair look right now, because I've been in the gym and I'm sweating it out, and now it's oily and sweaty. So ignore that. I'll take care of that soon. Nevertheless, y'all, imagine that God's perfect person for you, which was Eve for Adam, was the reason why everything went all bad. Part of the reason, because there's some accountability that needs to be given and taken on Adam's end. Nevertheless, she was the helper. How many people let the helper come in their house and mess up some stuff? How you gonna let the help mess you up? How you gonna, even though she was his wife, I ain't gonna minimize her role, but she was wrong, and he knew it. But then again, maybe she did play her role right, because she helped him lose the garden. She helped him limit his life. She helped him see sin and be cursed, because now there was a lot of things that came behind what he did, and there was a curse put on. Now he has to labor forever. Now, do y'all know the Garden of Eden watered itself? It was a mist that came up from the ground that kept the plants watered. It didn't even rain. It didn't need to. God had it to where the land can till itself. They didn't do no work. Everything was just there. Oh, but Eve, sweet, sweet flower bombing Eve, and that fruit, and Adam's choice and choosing and decision to eat it. This is what I mean when I say A lot of marriages are not working out because people are doing the wrong. They're not playing their roles. They're in the wrong position. And the men aren't being men. And the women are not being in their position. And it goes bad. Y'all, why more people don't study marriage before they even get married? I feel like if you're going to do it God's way, you need to know how Vashti lost her position and how Esther gained it. You need to know how Naomi helped Ruth gain the sight of a high-earning man, Boaz. You need to know how Deborah got her spot. You need to know how humble different people were and how these women won and how these women that lost. And then how Christ treated the church, because that is how the husband is supposed to treat the wife. He loved them. He catered to them. Christ was washing feet. He was healing. He was feeding. He spent 30 years preparing for 3 years of service to the church. In his preparation, he was building himself up and growing in God and becoming ready to do what he had to do, which he accomplished in just 3 years. However, he spent 30 years preparing to love the church. How many people are really taking a time out and preparing for your marriage and for your wife? And how many years have you put into working on that? How many women are really considering how they manage themselves? And you know what? There's a man who's told to love his wife as Christ loved the church. That's in Ephesians 5, man. And then there's a virtuous woman. That's a Proverbs 31 woman. Study both of those. Look them both up. Because those are perfect matches for each other. There's a way she's supposed to be, and there's a way he's supposed to be. And the way that he's supposed to be, you need to read Mark, Luke, John, and observe how God really loved them people. How he sacrificed, how he fasted, how he prayed, how he healed, how he provided, how he laid down his life. Adam ate the fruit and messed up their life. He ain't do it right. But, you ain't got to agree with me. Just don't disagree. That's all. And I'm out.